So hi everybody, we're Imaginary Pragmatics group, and we live in generating tools for a radical urban imagination. Madrid's terrain bays conform a total area of 23 billion square meters, which we see as reservoirs of biodiversity ready for reimagination. New water network saves Madrid, a tree for every Madrileño. New giants feed Madrid. Madrid, new saffron capital. Mushrooms now available at Ciudad Universitaria station. Previously extinct bird species found in failed Olympic icon. Alcaldesa inaugura nuevo campo descampado. We have in these terrain bays a rubble dump, some failed Olympic beads, and some waste grounds, which we see as opportunities to create maybe resilient ecosystems and incredible biodiversity escapes. Creating radical tools for 3 different scenarios. What if we flood these areas with the city's water, creating a waterscape? Connecting all the terrain bays in a network of waterscape depending the use from the seasons of the year. Using only 20% of the waste grounds, we can treat all of Madrid's residual water per year. Also using the 11% of that waste ground, we can provide 30% of the necessary water for agriculture, creating a whole system of waterscape. But also, what if we use Madrid's rubble waste to create new topography, which we create new climate conditions for crops, a foodscape? Did you know that Madrid makes 6 million tons of rubble waste per year? Before the crisis, Madrid made 12 million. That's double. So we can create maybe different microclimates with this rubble waste. For every 250 meter change in altitude, you can get a 1.6 degree change in temperature. So maybe by manipulating the topography, we can choose the conditions we need for the climate. But what if we don't touch these waste grounds for 100 years? Maybe a big forest will grow. Did you know the waste ground whole network will fix 1.7 million tons of CO2 per hectare per year. So maybe we just can live it and love it. One Madrileño generates 5.8 tons of CO2 per year, and 1 hectare of forest absorbs 9 tons of that generation of CO2. Madrid has 3 million inhabitants, so we will have to fill Madrid with forest 35 times in order to offset that CO2. The existing parks in Madrid, plus the wasteland full of forest, together will fix 1.5% of Madrid's CO2 production. So the vegetation we are trying to introduce in our proposals will fix 0.1 of the Madrid annual CO2 emission. Also, we see that as a potential biomass production which we can use for generating heat and electricity production. Because if it's a very big network, we are only focusing on one case study, that is Moratala's district. Here we have the Cuña O'Donnell, which has been already compared to Parque del Buen Retiro by the government. They already inaugurated a new park that could be as big as El Retiro, but does Madrid need this plan? Because we also think we can create a foodscape, a bowscape, or a waterscape instead of creating a new Retiro. Using the existing infrastructure in these sites that has been made by civilian initiatives, we can see that in the site we have already some public lavatory or temporary lavatory, an agricultural structure, some walls made by the civilians, also a bike park, some temporary shelter, and they use these water captures, water thing to use as an underground shelter. Also, by observing the topography in the site, we can divide it in different kind of areas that we can use for our project, for our proposal. On the other hand, the existing infrastructure that has been made by the civilian initiative enlightens some points of entry and informal pedestrianism paths. Using that and translating that into our proposal, we are analyzing more data in order to create the intervention that this site and this Moratalaz district needs. So a Madrileñ generates 54,000 liters of residual water per year. In order to clear that water and filter that residual water, we would need 2 square meters of macrophytes. Our site, O'Donnell Park, would have to be filled 3 times with the macrophytes in order to clear that residual water. So we are talking about a whole network, and so we are not introducing the macrophytes and the filtering system in this site. Also, Madrid collects 2.3 billion liters of rainwater per year. In our proposal, we are only using 300 million liters of rainwater for touristic activities, creating a waterscape by flooding the terrain, the existing terrain. Using the several levels in the terrain, we have a difference of 80 meters from the uppest to the lowest in the site, and we are using that for terracing water systems, so that depending on the season, we can have a different waterscape also. On the other hand, a Madrileñ consumes this amount of food per year. Okay, so in Moratalaz district, translating that to Moratalaz district, we need this amount of food per year depending in the inhabitants quantity. So how much hectares do we need to produce this amount of food? We need 300 hectares to produce this. Our proposal in this site is only contemplating 20% of that whole amount of food. So we can provide food to 20% of the inhabitants of Moratalaz district with the product of agricultural in our proposal. Right? Combining that with only 4 species of agricultural crops: peas, saffron, garlic, and rice, studied by their agroclimate conditions. We are distributing them in the different areas of our project. So, for example, peas have to be in an elevated area and also apart from garlic. The rest of our proposal is about leaving the existing forest grow itself, only introducing native forest species, also using the natural topography that we have already and the climate conditions. For example, the almost miner likes to live nearby the water, so we're putting them on those areas. That generates a whole waterscape, which is divided 30% in agricultural system, 25% of water flooding, and 45% of natural and native forest. But how can we make the civilians to own this project and to get involved? So in order to do that, we launched a campaign with several media tools, such as postcards, for example, we sent them to the mayor, but of course the aim of this campaign is not only the mayor, but the first aim and the target are the citizens. So we went out and we talked them about our proposal and asked them what would they think if we made a flooding waterscape. So we were talking to them, and also we launched a Facebook fan page in the media world that it's already it's also running now, so you can like it and join it if you want. On the other hand, we made this media tool that is called put your idea on a paper, and it was half this image where we are explaining the citizens what we want to do with our proposal, and the other half was in blank, in order for them to draw or write or just express themselves for what would they want it to be. So we already received the responses from students or other citizens. So you can feel free to complete this scenario with whichever scenario you want. So now I will introduce you to the results, the first results we have of our campaign.
After the lecture, both the architect and the student felt from the window into the open universe. Two big black cars were coming out of the garage, one after the other. The car in the back was carrying an important person.
Vamos a ver, en Madrid podrá haber alguna cosa por algún barrio hecho que yo no lo sepa, pero ¿cómo se llama? No te han dicho ni cómo se llama. Bueno, pues, ¿quieres que llame información? A ver, porque yo igual no estoy en la... Igual no estoy en la... What?
So the cars were crossing the big avenue slowly. Everything was agreed. Everything was closed. And when the agreement is done, a piece of land is occupied.
Mira, nosotros venimos de vacaciones y nos habían hablado de una montaña que hay en Madrid de agricultura. Como una montaña.
¿Tienes la dirección, el nombre y dónde es?
Creo que está por Alsacia, me parece, pero no estoy segura. ¿Le suena de algo?
And then the agreement is being built. And in the four corners of the space, they install cameras, and then they put a sign which writes, "This place is protected," and everybody understands that this is a private space.
Paz e harmonia. Se você não tem paz, não tem harmonia. E se não tem harmonia, acabou tudo.
Harmony don't have love.
What's the difference between a swimming pool and an empty space? He asked. And then he said, what's the difference between a skyscraper and an empty piece of land?